Well, hey there. Welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs YouTube channel. Shout out to all 40 some people who watched the last video. My analytics are, I don't know why, but anyway, in the last video, we were talking about going back and looking back in time at the last 5 years of the drafts, because it's important that we go back and we make proper, I guess you would call proper grades for drafts. The reason why we say this is because it takes a while. It takes a few years to really get a good feel for if you succeeded in a draft or not. You can't just, honestly, is so dumb for talking heads to come out and say, I give this draft a letter grade right off the bat when these players have not even stepped on the field for 1 second. However, you can go back to 5 years ago, because at that point, the players have already played their rookie contracts. They're already well-seasoned veterans. You can give them grades at that point. So that's what we're doing here. And we're continuing on, and let's do this before this video gets really long. We're looking at 2019 now. In the year 2019, we still had Jay Gruden, but it was his last season because the Washington Redskins, yes, I said it, the Washington Redskins started off like 0-5, and Jay Gruden was fired mid-season. And we also had a carousel of quarterbacks during that season as well, because of course the previous season before that, or was it that season, I can't remember, was the year, no, it was the previous season that Alex Smith had that horrific leg injury. So ever since then, it had been this revolving door of quarterbacks for the Washington Redskins. And 2019 would prove to be no different. However, in 2019, the NFL had done messed up. Now, rest in peace, Simba. That was the year that the Washington Redskins picked 15th overall in the draft and selected Dwayne Haskins out of Ohio State to be their future franchise quarterback. And the franchise was so high on Dwayne Haskins. Haskins even asked Redskins great Joe Theismann for his number. No other quarterback had ever wore number 7 for the Washington Redskins since Joe Theismann retired. So this was a bold move. And Dwayne Haskins was the first quarterback since Theismann to don the number 7. But it would be short-lived, because Dwayne Haskins in the next season would have some off-the-field issues and would eventually get cut by Ron Rivera. And so his time in Washington was short-lived. But then we go to the tail end of round 1, where Washington had actually traded back into round 1. They traded their second round pick, moved back into the round to pick Montez Sweat. Now, this was a very good move for the Washington Redskins at that point, because Montez Sweat has proven to be worth the pick, in my opinion. He got his 5th-year option picked up by the Commanders this year, and Sweat has done a fantastic job. Now, he did start off a little slow this past season. You know, a lot of people were like, why are we not hearing anything? We're not hearing Montez Sweat. We're not hearing his name. And but things started clicking, and then Montez Sweat started making his presence felt, and he really had to pick up the slack. Certainly the year before that, when Chase Young went down, Montez Sweat has, I think, made his presence known, has made his presence worth, or made his worth known, And so that was definitely a good pickup. Hopefully, Montez Sweat's deal will get worked out. So that's been a great move there. But the fantastic move, ladies and gentlemen, was in the third round. The third round, we pick up Terry McLaurin, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Now, this move you can definitely credit Dwayne Haskins for, because Dwayne Haskins lobbied for Washington to draft Terry McLaurin. And, the thought process is, let's go get a wide receiver that your future quarterback is going to be comfortable throwing to. And so that's what they did. They went out and they got Terry McLaurin, and McLaurin right away showed his worth. I mean, honestly, he has been worth a first-round pick. He has been one of the best wide receivers in the league. And yes, I'm biased, but I don't think that you can really argue that a lot. Terry McLaurin has been an outstanding player, one of the best players that, excuse me, that the Washington franchise has picked up. That was an excellent move, and to be a third-round draft pick, he has been fantastic for the Washington Commanders. Moving into the fourth round, Bryce Love. This was a bum pick. Unfortunately, there was a lot of hope for Bryce Love. My apologies. It was going to be this great 1-2 punch between Love and Geis. And both, of course, we talked about Geis in the last video. Love never saw the field at all. He received no love. Okay, bad dad joke. But Bryce Love never made it to the field. Wasted fourth round pick. Wes Martin did play a little bit for us. Just did not materialize enough. Just really, fourth round pick. When you start getting into that, as I said before, fourth round picks can either become starters for you or they become depth players. Wes Martin looked like he was looking more toward being a depth player, but we just really couldn't develop him into a strong enough player. So Wes Martin kind of lost cause. We get into the fifth round. What was it? Percybacher. Ross Percybacher. I don't even remember him even seeing the playing field at all. So let's move along with him. Cole Holcomb, now in the fifth round. Now that was a fantastic pickup for the Washington Redskins at that point, now Commanders. Cole Holcomb was a fantastic pickup for us. Unfortunately, we cut him loose in this past off season. But Cole Holcomb he was a workhorse at linebacker. He was there for a while. He was honestly our best linebacker, best tackler that we had on the defense. And he put in some fantastic minutes for us. It was a starter up until the point where he got hurt last season. And we really saw the loss with Cole Holcomb, after he went down. And, of course, Jamin Davis had to step up. Luckily, Jamin Davis did step up in a big way. But Cole Holcomb really showed that, he was a hard worker for us. And so Cole Holcomb was a fantastic pickup. Unfortunately, his grade dropped since we cut him loose. Kelvin Harmon was a receiver that really, to me, I was very high on Kelvin Harmon. He really looked like he was starting to develop as a receiver until he got hurt. And once he got hurt, we started drafting some better guys, and other guys that we had on the team started developing a little bit faster. And once the other guys kind of jumped ahead, there was really no room for Kelvin Harmon. And I hated that because there was, again, I really felt that Harmon had an opportunity to become a solid wide receiver for us. And unfortunately, injuries plagued him. And, sixth round draft pick, though, he had the opportunity, and that would have been a steal for him if he could have stayed healthy. Seventh round, Jimmy Moreland. Jimmy Moreland hadn't been too bad for us. Kind of a more of a, I would call, rotation guy coming in off the bench when other DBs are going down with injuries. Had not been a starter necessarily unless that someone was hurt, but not a full-time starter. Probably better with special teams. But, now we've kind of jettisoned him along. He's no longer with the team. Then finally rounding out the seventh round, Jordan Relford, edge, didn't stay on the team. So there you go. That's the 2019 draft for the Washington Redskins at that point, now Commanders. I will say this draft, because of Montez Sweat, Terry McLaurin, I will say Cole Holcomb, I'm torn on that because we just recently lost him. Obviously we didn't keep him past his rookie contract. So I would say, again, this is probably a C- draft, a very C- draft, just because I think what helps to get it into the C is just because of that great third round pick with Terry McLaurin and the moving back into the first round for Montez Sweat. I think those two moves were very solid moves for Washington, and certainly picking up Cole Holcomb in the fifth round, I think, was a good solid pickup for the Washington Redskins at that point. But other than that, it was a pretty average draft. They certainly missed on quarterback at that point, unfortunately, and I think that might have been a year where they could have waited maybe another year for a quarterback. I can't remember. I got to go back and see who else was being drafted in 2019 at that point. But oh yeah, I do remember everybody wanting to. It was tanking for Tua. I remember that. So Tua was coming in the 2020 draft. So I think folks were hoping that we would tank for Tua, and then we wound up somehow miraculously beating the Miami Dolphins to secure the fact that Tua would go to Miami and not to Washington. So yeah, there you go, folks. It was a little bit better draft because we did pick up Terry McLaurin. We did get Montez Sweat. We got a solid guy in Cole Holcomb who gave us some good years. He's gone now. So in the next video, we'll be looking at 2020 and seeing how that fared. That would be the first draft with Ron Rivera and the present front office staff. Folks, you take care. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And when you do, make sure that you hit that notification bell, because my videos are not getting notified out to my subscribers. Hence the reason why my analytics have dropped. These numbers right now are just mind-boggling. I understand sometimes certain videos are duds. I get that, but this is crazy. Anyway, I will see you in the next one.
Hey, you stayed until the very end. Thank you so much. Watch another one right now.